Welcome to the Faculty of Health, a Culture of Innovation and Excellence Showcase. The Faculty of Health at the University of Canberra educates clinicians, professionals and researchers to be leaders in the ever-changing sectors of health, psychology, sport and exercise science. With a focus of innovative educational methods, the faculty is continuously evolving in response to the ever-changing environment and produces high-quality graduates and leading research. The SAFFIRE funding came at exactly the right time for the faculty, as it enabled a number of initiatives to be launched. These included developing new pathways with our APN partners, new undergraduate degree programs, and, as a leading provider of specialist postgraduate education, the redevelopment of courses for flexible and online delivery in nursing, midwifery, and allied health. Our projects, both funded and unfunded, included those listed here. However, important to note that the change has been more significant than just these programs. It has had an impact on most, if not all, members of staff. There is a clear willingness to develop and embrace the changing landscape.
So I arrived as Associate Dean Education in January, and I was overwhelmed by the innovation and the energy that was present in the faculty, driven by the SAF funding. It was evident that there were a number of units that were being developed, further enhanced because of in order to offer flexibility and greater choice to students, and this was all excellent. It was apparent that many, if not all of the staff, are becoming actively involved in the project and were willingly changing some of their practices for the improvement in student learning.
I think as a discipline it's caused us to think how we can provide opportunity for students, how we can construct our units in different ways to give them different opportunities in how they learn.
The SAFFIRE funding has allowed the discipline of pharmacy to change its practice in how they deliver the lectures online. It's made us become a little bit more imaginative in how we sell the learning to our students and encourage sort of a deeper learning for those students.
We didn't actually get any SAFFIRE funding for the electrophysical agents unit, but we have actually adopted the practice of flipping our classroom. So we have put all our lectures online because it's background information, and the more important part of this particular subject is to ensure that the students were competent in using electrophysical agents in physiotherapy.
More generally, it's been about positioning postgraduate studies in nursing to be able to be offered to a much broader and wider market. I've concentrated primarily on using SBLI and also Collaborate because I think they've given me the opportunity to capture potential learning, preferred learning styles for students across a range of areas. So,
with the help of the SAF funding, the discipline of psychology decided to switch all its undergraduate core units to flexible mode, and by making that commitment, that's involved a number of significant modifications and improvements in the way that our units are delivered.
We've been very glad to receive SAFFIRE funding, and it most certainly has changed our practice. In the Bachelor of Midwifery, we had two separate pieces of money. One was used for what we're now calling DAISY, which is the Smarterbase database for our students to put their practice portfolio of what they're doing out in the world of maternity work online in a documented, calm, easy to use, user-friendly, de-identified, easy to get to, easy to store, and easy for us to audit way.
I guess the big thing for me was getting a sense of what a flipped classroom was like. I hadn't really thought about that term before, and the SAFFIRE funding has allowed me to explore that a bit more.
Possibly where the whole SAFFIRE project funding has helped me to rethink perhaps the way that I do teaching.
SAFFIRE funding has changed my practice by allowing me to explore other possibilities and ways in which to put material online. My area of sports biomechanics doesn't often lend itself to being online, So it's allowed me to figure out new ways to put material across that is a lot more interesting.
The changes that we're wanting to make to our units are obviously to get them online, but we want to make them more interactive. We want to make them more accessible to students. The main thing we want to achieve is a sense of vitality, to bring more of a sense of energy and currency into the unit, and also just to make it flexible and accessible.
Encourage students to take the opportunities that are available to them, trying to encourage students to look at learning in a new way and not take the passive approach to learning. Those have all been difficulties that staff here have had to face, and have addressed them full on and front on.
I think it's a cultural change. I think, if I think about it, doesn't matter whether I think about it in terms of staff, colleagues embracing online technology and me as a champion for that and facilitating that, or whether it's students embracing online learning. It's the cultural change and the understanding that you can create an environment where engagement occurs. So that is probably the biggest challenge.
The biggest challenge for us has been just understanding the technology and overcoming our fear of change. And so what we're doing in order to do that is to get more information and some support.
And we've discussed the trials, tribulations, pitfalls and experiences of Blackboard Collaborate, for example.
Making sure I feel confident with using some of that technology, and certainly having spoken to some others that have been using some of that technology, there have been a few glitches. So, that's going to be sort of something that perhaps all of us have to really feel a bit more confident, and then the students also have to feel confident that they're able to use that technology effectively as well.
Some of the difficulties related to the SAFFIRE funding have probably been the practicalities around accessing different people and coordinating different sources of information. That's probably been the most challenging bit.
Some of the challenges that we identified early on were students having difficulty getting used to the delivery of the lecture material online.
I think the difficulties I've had to overcome have probably been born out of it being relatively new for the students, and obviously the online format relies them to be a little bit more independent learners rather than me directing them in a face-to-face lab. But I think that I foresee those to be teething problems with students who are used to having face-to-face information.
The project outcomes and experience have been that students are able to access the information whenever it suited them. They'll be able to go over the videos more frequently. We have noticed that they have improved in their ability to do the practical exams and therefore meet the competencies that they have to meet.
The main outcomes for our students have been, I think, a new enthusiasm that's quite detectable among the students, that it feels like they think we finally heard what they're saying, that they're working full time, they're parents, they're busy, but they're keen to study. And it's the little comments from students about how it's just that little bit easier for them rather than a little bit harder to remain in touch with the unit and progress, at their own pace.
I've really enjoyed that you can go at your own pace. Partially because I had some private situation where I sort of really needed to put some more time in, and so I could follow up later when I sort of had more time. I thought that was really good. But just generally also, I tend to, not being a native English speaker, maybe sometimes take a bit more time for certain things, and if I can just go back online and repeat it again or watch it, I actually really quite enjoyed that bit.
The initial feeling is that it's helped, but we know we've got a long way to go.
I think the whole using Moodle as more than a repository. I think it's about having a greater view of educational design. I still think we're just on the very brink of that. We, teetering on the edge, really. I think there's a whole range of things still out there that I certainly haven't had the opportunity to explore, but I think we are still in quite an embryonic stage, really.